What's up, people? It is Adam Brewer, and this is another episode of Conscious Conversations. Today's topic is going to be evolution versus conscious evolution for dads. And before I get started, if at any point you happen to show up here and you have any questions, feel free to type them in. Hopefully I'll be able to see them and be able to answer them real time, and if not, I'll try to answer them after this session. So feel free to do that throughout. And Conscious Conversations is going to be a place, a forum where I'm going to be talking about all things related to meditation, breath work, conscious evolution, positive parenting, mental health, and all things related to fatherhood. So I'm looking forward to trying to do this pretty much every week around this time, and I hope you can join me. But we're going to keep this one relatively short and sweet. I'm challenging myself to keep it to 5 minutes. I tend to sometimes get a little long-winded, but I'm going to try to keep it succinct and hopefully practical for you in something that you can walk away with thinking, hey, that was of value for me. So let's just begin with evolution in general. And what is it? It's basically a gradual progression in the development of something. And you could take human beings in general, and you could say, no matter what we do, we ultimately are evolving, right? Life in general began as a single-celled organism, and over the course of billions and billions and billions of years, we have gone from what is very simple, in essence, to something that is very complex. And that being a living being that has, they're guesstimating about 50 trillion living cells within his body, and each one of them having its own unique consciousness. So we have, again, evolved naturally without doing anything necessarily from this single-celled organism to this multi-dimensional 50 trillion living celled organism. So that's happening behind the scenes at all points. Now, so if we do nothing by naturally just existing on a planet that is progressive in nature, life in general is seeking a greater expression of itself. And so this is a progressive universe. And so as you, as an individual, in this case fathers, exist, you will naturally evolve. But again, the definition says a gradual progression. So I would submit to you that we have a choice now to consciously evolve. And how does that come about? It comes about by the fact that we have, in the evolution of our species, discovered that we as a species have what's referred to as reflective consciousness. And reflective consciousness is the ability to think about what you think about. So independent of the situation or circumstances, you have an opportunity in each and every moment as a human being, and we are the only species at this point that we know of that has this reflective consciousness, to pause, to stop, and to think about what you're thinking about. And through that, you have an opportunity to choose the words that you utilize and the actions that you take, right? And through practices such as meditation and breath work, you can actually have more volition over the thoughts that are moving through your head, and that's for a whole nother conversation. But so we can, because of reflective consciousness, be an active participant in our own evolution, and we can speed up the process. Because I would submit to you that if we do nothing, that's what's referred to as fate. However, if you take the reins, so to speak, and you consciously participate in the evolutionary process which is taking place, you can create a destiny. I believe it was Anthony Robbins who once said, it's in the moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. And so it's in those moments of decision that, using reflective consciousness, we can choose. It's like the kid's story that I used to love reading, Choose Your Own Adventure, right? At the end of the chapter, you could, if you choose to follow a certain path, you're going to turn to page 2. Or if you could take a certain different action, you're going to go to page 14. And it's a totally different adventure. That's what happens when we make a decision in each and any moment that you're existing. So as it relates to fathers, one could just sit back and say, I am who I am, and I'm just going to go along for the ride and wing it and do the best I can. And just kind of say, you know, I'll do what my father did or his father before that, and just allow things to naturally, gradually progress to you and not make any changes. Or I believe you can keep what is, and by the way, that's referred to as a fixed mindset, where you just keep doing what you've been doing. You say, you can't change stripes on a tiger, and this is what you get when you get me, okay? The other side of that is to keep a growth mindset, where you say that I am going to continually challenge myself to grow, evolve, and mature, not only as a man, but as a father. And part of that practice is, as I've mentioned, doing some self-reflective work to help you realize that you are way more than just this physical body. For far too long, I think people have been moving along just stuck in the physical form, but we are these multi-dimensional beings that, yes, have a physical essence. We also have a mental essence and a spiritual essence and an emotional essence, just to name a few. So it's a willingness to work on ourselves on many levels. So things like meditation and breath work, introspection, not being afraid to do men's work, where a lot of times these days are diving into shadow work, or just getting to understand the traumas in our life that may have colored our belief systems, not only throughout the life, but our belief systems now as fathers. They're just running on autopilot based on trauma. And so there's work to dive into that type of stuff. But I would also suggest that we could continually try to learn as parents, as fathers. We can pick up books and read. Amazing books out there. There's a book called No Bad Kids that you could read if you haven't read, that I think every father should read. There's a book that I read when I first started this journey called Parenting with Presence, which I loved. And it's just to feed your mind with a different way of thinking, potentially, than the way you may presently be thinking. I personally got involved in a course called Positive Parenting Solutions, which has been eye-opening on so many levels. So these are just ways that you can continually try to evolve as a human, right? Just as a being, but also as a father and as a parent. So that, yes, you have your foundational pillars of your approach to fathering, but you stay wide open at the top and stay willing to see things in a slightly different way than a way that you may have interpreted things, right? So it's I once heard it said, like, repetition on a daily basis is where true mastery lies. So it's like, do something over and over and over again, you'll become a master. But at the same time, I've heard those sayings, to fall into habit is to begin to cease to be. So it's like saying, stay open and fluid. So which is it really? And rather than saying it has to be one or the other, I would say it's a combination. It's an integration of both of those ideas, as are most things, right? It's. I heard somebody say in a podcast recently, it's kind of a collapsing of these binaries, that it has to be one or the other, the black and the white, the right and the wrong. And it's saying it's combination, it's an integration. Pretty much all of anything that we experience in life, including our own evolution, can be looked at through this lens. And in doing so, we would take a little bit of structure, yes, and foundational belief systems, but a willingness to adapt and change, evolve and grow, and then stay in alignment with the natural order of the universe and the cosmos. There's a lot here that we could continue to talk about. I challenge myself to just keep this conversation to about 5 minutes, and let me check the clock to see if I've stayed somewhat true. I'm close to that. In fact, I think I've gone a little bit over. But I hope something landed for you. If it did, I'd love you to comment below. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them in there in the comments, and I'll try to answer them there to the best of my ability. And then, like I said, I'm going to try to do this every week around this time, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we'll just keep on having these conscious conversations. And I see you as a father. I applaud you. Thank you for showing up and listening to this kind of conversation. I hope we can all just keep, like I said, growing, evolving, and learning so that we can become the most loving, present, and connected fathers we can possibly be. Until next time, have a great day, my friends.